Back home, it was announced today that mosques in Singapore will remain closed for a further 9 days until March 26. That completes one incubation cycle period. The extension means Friday prayers on March 20th will be suspended. Singapore confirmed 14 new coronavirus cases last night, the highest number of new cases reported in a single day. There are now 226 infections in total here. Of the 14 new cases, 9 are imported, while another 3 are linked to previous cases. The remaining 2 patients are linked to the private dinner function at Safra Jurong. Yesterday, Singapore also announced further measures to reduce importation of coronavirus cases.
Today, with immediate effect, we are putting out an advisory for all Singaporeans to defer non-essential travel abroad to all countries. Besides those returning from overseas, we have also had a number of cases from ASEAN countries, from our neighbours, including a few that came with the very specific purpose of seeking medical care here. And it is really hard for us to cope with this additional demand during this critical period when our healthcare resources are already stretched. And so from 16th of March 2359, the task force has decided to put in place a new stay-at-home requirement for all travellers coming back from UK, Switzerland, Japan, and ASEAN countries. In other words, anyone with recent travel history in these countries will have to effectively self-quarantine for 14 days at their place of residence. It could be their home or it could be a hotel, and they have to stay there for a full 14 days. For nationals of ASEAN countries, we will have an additional requirement, which is that they will have to submit health information to our overseas missions, and this will have to be approved by the Ministry of Health before they travel.
But these restrictions will exclude Singaporeans and Malaysians using sea and land crossings with Malaysia because of the large numbers of visitors who cross the borders daily. For this, separate arrangements are being made by a bilateral joint working group. Existing travel and border restrictions will stay put. Singapore residents and long-term pass holders who had been to Hubei province in the last 14 days will serve a 14-day quarantine upon returning. Short-term visitors from these regions will not be allowed entry or transit through Singapore. Singapore residents and long-term pass holders who had been to the rest of mainland China, as well as France, Germany, Italy, Iran, South Korea and Spain in the last 14 days will be served a 14-day stay-home notice. Again, short-term visitors from these countries will not be allowed entry or transit through Singapore. However, short-term visitors who are ASEAN nationals will also be required to submit requisite health information for approval before travelling.